So here we have the Cube Designer. Let's open this up. We can see that there are multiple tabs in the Cube Designer. The first tab, Cube Structure, shows us the measures by measure group in the upper left corner. So the first item here would be the cube, and down in the Properties window we can see properties related to the cube itself. Then when we select Reseller Sales, we see that that's a measure group, and there are various properties associated with the measure group. Then when we expand the measure group, we can see each of the individual measures, each of which has its own properties. Now the first thing that I like to do whenever I create a cube is to set the format string for each of the measures. That way when we go to browse the cube, we'll be able to read the values much more easily. So for order quantity, for example, we can put in a custom format string, pound, comma, pound, and that will display integer values with a comma as a thousands separator there. Whereas cost would be a dollar amount, and for that we have a built-in format string. If we use the drop-down list here, we can see that there's a currency format, and that will display in the currency that's applicable to the regional setting for your user's workstation. And then we have sales amount. Again, we'll apply the currency format string to sales amount. Another important property for our measures is the aggregate function. Most of the time, this will be a sum function. That's what the default value is for each of these three measures. But when we use the drop-down list here, we can see that there are a variety of other aggregate functions. The sum, count, min, and max are all considered to be additive measures. The aggregate functions from by account down to last non-empty are only applicable if you have Enterprise Edition or Developers Edition. If we have a lot of measures, we can group them into separate folders. And all we need to do here is to type the name of the folder. Or if we already have a folder defined, we would use the drop-down list and select it from the drop-down. But because we only have 3 measures, we'll leave this property blank. Another important property is the visible property. If there are certain values that we want to use as part of calculations, but we don't want to display them in the cube, we can change the visible property to false. For example, we may want to hide the cost from users of this cube, but use it for calculations like gross margin percent. But we'll leave this visible for now so that when we work on calculations in a separate module, we'll be able to check our work.